folks, and welcome back to Four Corners of the Galley. I'm your host, PBO, and you're joining me on another edition of Power Season 5. We're all the way up to episode number 3, and it's called, Are We on the Same Team? Alright, so we're going to recap review episode 3 right now and check it out. You know it's always a bad thing when they make the question mark of a title, because that means something either crazy is happening or some storytelling is about to happen. So let's get down into this breakdown. So, just like last week, folks, I'm going to give you the beginning part of this episode, talk about how it all starts off, and then I'm going to break into each person's storylines. They actually did condense down a lot of the storylines, and what I did was I just kind of combined it. Some people that only had like 1 or 2 scenes on their own, but they were really interacting with others. So, let's kick this off. So, We meet back up again, and the St. Patrick's are at home again, and they're still struggling. It's the same old deal, and nothing's really changed. Ghost is in his bathroom, and he's trying to wash his face off, and he's really trying to get himself composed. Everything is still all topsy-turvy. The death of Rainey has just completely affected this house, and things are wrong. So he gets a call from the bellman, finds out the detective's upstairs. He goes out, and Tasha's like, who's there? She's like, cop's here. So the detective shows up, and it's a detective on Raina's case, and he wants to ask Tariq a question again. Tariq comes out, he asks him a question, basically saying that an eyewitness saw Tariq after the fact, and actually saw him after, and saw Raina chasing after him, and they kind of made up a lie to get the detective out of there, and he goes about his day. So you can start to see, due to the events of last week and Councilman Tate and his press conference, a lot more heat's been brought in this case now. So now they're trying to get clarification on details, and that is actually an issue, thank you Motorcycle, because Angela and Tasha, who are playing junior detectives together, or, she is actually a DA, but they're, skirting the law together and playing their little Jacques Cousteau's together, and they're trying to kill stuff, so that doesn't help. So it kicks out from there, and we actually meet up with Angela and her crew, and Angela is having a meeting again, and she's having a meeting about Jimenez, and she's having a meeting with her boss, and she's telling him how we need to go after the Jimenez and we can catch him, and her boss is like, look, you need to slow down, you need to not do this. And at the same time, they kind of flip to our boys again, Tommy, Ghost, and Kanan, our little group. So I felt like every episode they got to give us at least one time where all 3 of them are together, and then another time where Angela and Tasha together, which is still blowing my mind on how this is all working, but we'll get to all that. So we get Ghost, Tommy, and Kanan, and they're together, and right then and there, Tommy's like, we need to kill Jimenez, and Ghost ain't about that. He wants to kill Dre, because he's still obsessed with Dre, even though Kanan's right there, who had a lot to do with this whole thing, and Tasha's been telling him forever. So there's those issues, and we're dealing with that nonsense, and they're having their whole conversation. At the end of it, basically, Tommy comes to Ghost again and wants to start up their original system that they had way back in the days when Ghost first had Truth, and he wants to run drugs through the club and do those certain things, and Ghost just shuts him down like, look, Tommy, I gotta stay clean, man. I can't do that. I can't roll that way. And Tommy just kind of brushes it off and goes about his day. Alright, so that's how it all starts off. Now we're going to actually follow Ghost, because he has actually a lot less going on this episode, and it's more given to Tasha and Tommy this episode, which is kind of cool. So let's get into Ghost and what happens in Ghost in this episode. So after there, Ghost has a meeting actually with Councilman Tate and a new woman who's actually a financier or is very rich, in Linda. And they're meeting, and they're having a meeting about, this whole location, about building it. And Ghost mentions something about retail, and she freaks out, and she goes, whoa, you have zoning for that? And the councilman steps in and goes, no, we don't have zoning for that. And, oh, okay. And before they can even get to, really pitching her the idea, she's out. She's like, I'm out, guys. I'm not a part of this. I'm out. And she leaves. And then Councilman Tate just gets pissed off and goes like, what are you doing, man? Why are you trying to jump in? Ghost is like, I'm trying to finish this off. I'm trying to close this. This is my thing. They have a little beef there because things didn't go well. And Tate's not really happy about the way it went. And Ghost is, feeling really bad about this whole deal. So, things aren't just going his way. So that, they just have a very disheartening dispute about this whole deal and the way things are working out. And you can see Tate starting to not enjoy a lot of this, what's going on, because there's so much surrounding Ghost that things are becoming a little more difficult. So, the next time we come back to him, Ghost is actually having dinner with Linda, and they're discussing things. And, Ghost is being charming and everything, and right out of nowhere, you can see she's definitely intrigued by Ghost, and she wants to close this deal upstairs, and she invites him upstairs, and what does she do? She takes him upstairs and close her deal. And Ghost thinks everything is great, because, he's like, cool. I just took care of this thing. This thing is in the bag. Well, they have another meeting, and they meet again, and Ghost tells him, oh, don't worry, I handled that whole Lydia thing. Everything's good to go. And before Ghost can even explain to him what he has, Councilman Tate already knows what he did. Oh, okay, so you handled her. You gave her some of that, huh? You took her upstairs and took care of that? He's like, yeah, I had to take care of my thing. He's like, well, that's what you get, because she tricked you. She wasn't in on that. She just wanted to see how weak you were. So I guess Linda wanted to use Ghost for her own pleasure, along with still discluding this deal and making him feel even worse. So now Tate's even more pissed off at Ghost because things are just completely going the back way, and they have a huge disagreement about this whole project and the way things are going. You can definitely see these two are not going to be friends at the end of the season. They might have been cool before that, but they're definitely not going to be anywhere associated with each other at the end, because I can see this going sideways fast. So at the same time this is all going, Ghost keeps trying to call Angela at different times. He tries to call Angela again, and he gets no answer. And at the end of the whole thing, he ends up calling Tommy and telling Tommy, let's do that thing, because he realizes he needs to gain some capital and some different stuff and needs some money. So he basically tells Tommy, after all this nonsense, yeah, it's a go, man. Bring your stuff in. We start selling through the club. Ghost, to me, is just really lost. There is another scene that he's in. I'll get back to that in a second involving Tasha. We'll get to a whole Tasha thing, but Ghost is kind of being regulated to these weird only meeting with Councilman Tate and obsessing about Dre conversations. And I just don't see, it's like they're putting him in his own metaphorical jail where he's locked in his own little area that he can't get out of. So I really don't know what they're doing. They're letting Tommy be the wild gunman this whole season and more Kanan causing problems, because Ghost, I guess, has to play the good choir boy, but he's still doing all the Ghost stuff he's ever done. I mean, last week he went and killed some citizen out of nowhere because of a story he heard, so I really don't know what direction they're taking Ghost. So after Ghost, we're actually going to get into Angela. So let's kick over to Angela. So now that we're in the Angela, she has that meeting with her boss, and she wants to go after Jimenez, and her boss basically tells her to slow down. We're not trying to go that fast after Jimenez. You need to slow down and rework your things. So, okay, all right. So at the same time that's going on, you have the detective who's on Raina's case back at the precinct, and he's having a meeting with Internal Affairs, who is the detective Blanca, and they're having a discussion on how both of them have had discussions with Ray Ray's cousin and other individuals, and how each one of them has met Angela, and Internal Affairs is like, isn't that kind of weird that she met with Ray Ray's cousin? So now you got the inner workings going on behind her, that the police department and Internal Affairs are starting to look deeper into, freaking the DA's office and things of that nature. So that doesn't go really well as far as that. And then a text comes in, obviously, from Tasha. Tasha texts Angela about the detective meeting, and they got to have their once a episode, I guess, meeting where they discuss stuff. And then they start to really, bond. And that's where I'm just like, okay, we have run the gambit when I guess it comes to some of these characters, and they're running out with ideas. Here we are sitting in season 5, and it's like they've kind of ran out ideas for Angela to do. She's working the back end against the Jimenez, but that story ain't going to go far. And in a second, you're about to see why they've kind of run the gambit. Because right after that, she's walking through the hallway, and she runs into a DEA agent, Steve. And here we go. They give her another different love interest in the DEA. They have a little flirtation right there. He invites her out to dinner. She invites him out to dinner at 8. They agree. They go out to dinner. They have a little fun, conversation, discussing things. He tries to take her home. She refuses, and she doesn't want anything to do with him. But then they meet back up again, of course, and this time they're at the apartment. They're drinking wine, and they're about to get their freak on. She gets a call from Jamie out of nowhere. She hangs up with him and goes completely through with Steve. So here you go. I don't know what is with Angela and Authority, guys. Before she was with Ghost, or, in between Ghost, she was with another DEA guy, and now she's back with another DEA guy. So I really feel like they ran out of things to do with Angela, because if she's not involved in this love triangle between Ghost, herself, and Tasha, she's just kind of regulated to the sidelines and really has no storyline. She is playing the outside force, but it's a whole lot to get to that point. I really don't know. I don't know how this is all going to connect back where Angela and Ghost really have a lot of connection outside of Tasha. I just feel like if this is the way we were going to go with this whole thing, then somebody definitely needs to go. Either someone needs to die, someone needs to transfer out. Like, you need to refreshen up this cast or refreshen up these storylines, because we're just kind of running in circles now. I mean, we're rerunning into the same circle. We're bringing a DEA agent who's probably going to cause problems with Ghost, and they're going to have... I mean, that's just the same deal we already did in Season 3. Whew, let's see if we can get past that. All right, so let's kick it over now to Dre. So Dre's got all kinds of drama going on this season. So Dre's at his spot, and he's having a meeting with all his companions. Actually, he's not even having a meeting. He rolls in, and all of his people are there, and Diego Jimenez is already there, and he's talking to Cristobal. And they're having a real cool conversation. And 2Bit's getting in his ear, talking like, look, man, that don't seem right. That they seem like they like you more. So Dre has a meeting, basically trying to calm everything down, and telling, Diego that the Torres, and Diego keeps cutting off Dre, and you can see that Diego is not very happy with the whole way that Dre's running things. And he's also not really happy about this whole Torres thing. He goes to meet this new Torres guy to verify that Torres killed the old Torres leader. He takes credit for it, but Dre keeps coming in, and Diego goes, look, I want to see this firsthand. I want to see you take these guys out. And the new Torres guy's like, all right, no worries, but I'll see you tomorrow. And then he's like, I'll see you tomorrow. He's like, cool. So they set up a meet to see him tomorrow. 2Bit, at the same meeting, Dre announces that Cristobal is now his number 2 based on Jimenez and the way that Jimenez wants things run. And 2Bit and Spanky are not happy about this. And 2Bit is Dre's boy and Spanky's boy, obviously. And they're not happy with this. They're not happy with this at all. They're really pissed about the way management's been working. And this is the perfect situation for Kanan to insert himself. So here comes out of nowhere Kanan. So Kanan out of nowhere is waiting for 2Bit one night. He rolls up on him. And I guess 2Bit don't know all the information because, Dre's not trying to tell him everything. So he doesn't know that Kanan's on the outs with Dre and that they're beefing. He don't really know that. He just kind of giving him the information, and Kanan's already planting his little seeds in there to take out, to make sure that he puts 2Bit back in, or just to help him. He just seen that. You can see what Kanan's doing in this episode and what he's planning, which I like, because I like that they actually have that. So he has that whole thing, and they have that whole little moment. And then the next time we catch up with this is Dre is down with Diego, and now you got the Torres leader, and he's got the ex guys that are still trying to run with the old Torres leader. He's got them all taped up, and they're about to get killed execution style. And Diego starts questioning the whole thing, like, did you really do this? Why is this guy still talking? Like, he does all this crazy nonsense for him to go, don't worry about it, and just lets him kill him anyways. I mean, he's truly trying to mess with the minds of his workers and really get under his skin. And then he gets on Dre at the end of it like, look, man, you really need to get your shipping to carry because you're running a lot for me and I need this tight. So you can tell that Dre is just stressing about this whole deal and how things are not going right. So that just doesn't work well. I confused it. The next meeting is now where Cristobal gets taken to be the number 2, and Spanky and 2Bit after the whole deal with the Toros leader and then 2Bit meeting with Kanan. Now he's really pissed because now he's really been regulated down to number 3 instead of being number 2 like he thought he was, and Dre's unhappy with him because of the mess that he had to get him out. So now Cristobal's really in charge, and you could see it in 2Bit and Spanky's eyes as they look at each other. They are not happy about the way it's going, and Kanan's little seeds that he planted are definitely going to come fruition. I would not be shocked if there was some sort of like coup at the end, or like around 6 or 7, if Spanky or 2Bit try to kill Dre, or Dre ends up killing them, or if they do get it. And you could just see that Kanan's going to try to put in their minds to kill Dre, or figure out some way to manipulate behind the scenes to make 2Bit or Spanky go after Dre for their things. So that's where we leave them off. 2Bit and Spanky are pissed, and things are going to come for them. So let's kick it over now to Tommy and Tommy's dad. So we actually meet up with Tommy's dad, Tony, in prison. And John Mock and the other DA guy are showing up there, and they're basically trying to give a deal to Tommy's dad to convince him to rat on Tommy. And Tommy's dad, Tony, starts laughing like, man, it took me to do all this nonsense to finally get you guys down. And he goes, this has been my plan from the whole time. And right there, the DA guys are minds blown because they just realized they've been played by this old Sicilian that he's actually using them to get a deal for what he already wants by getting out. So this is all working to Tony's plan. He's going to try to put his son that he never cared about in jail for all the different stuff, and then he'll get to go scot-free because he's a made man and be fine with the Italians. So at the same time, Tony calls Tommy and tells him, look, man, I'm about to get out. This is about to be great. And you can see that Tommy is not feeling what his father is preaching. And he hangs up the phone, and boom, right then and there is John Mock next to Tony. He's like, we good. But Tommy, he's not feeling that, and he pretty much shows it through the rest of this episode, because he finds out that his father's getting out, and he can't believe it, because he's like supposed to be in there for life, and he's a made man. He's like, I don't know how he would get out. He must be snitching. So what does Tommy do? He goes and sees Proctor first. He goes and has a conversation with Proctor and asks Proctor about stuff, and Proctor says it's all clear. He's like, all right. After he leaves Parker, his mom shows up, and he has a conversation with his mom, and his mom's telling him like she's the devil. But his mom's also got a whole nother plan, because she's just looking for a bump of her own, and she's kind of hard to believe because she's got her own issues, plus she hates everything else. I mean, it's hard, so I get Tommy not trusting her. So then Tommy goes and sees Keisha, or he sees Keisha, and he has a whole full-blown conversation with Keisha and explains and asks her for her opinion. And he's also trying to get back good in with her. Keisha blows him off and kicks him out, but he appreciates the word he gives him. The next thing you get is Tommy gets a phone call from Ghost, and they have a conversation. Then he hangs up the phone, and Kanan shows up. So Kanan, at the beginning of the episode, wanted to get involved in the whole game with Tommy, and Tommy goes, look, man, you ain't getting in for free. You got to put in. So if you want some, you got to put some money in. So Kanan, what he does at this point is he goes and robs Cristobal at some point. In the middle of the episode, when Cristobal's coming out with $300K and stuff, Kanan knows how it's going to go and is waiting for him in the car, pulls out the gun, has his boys pull out the 2 bags, and robs Cristobal right then and there of his money. So Kanan shows up at Tommy's house with the money, ready to be a part of the game because he wants to get in the biz. Because Kanan knows that this is just stepping stones for him to get to be on top and to run the whole business. So they start having a conversation, and Tommy, of course, asks Kanan, what should he do? And he goes, who is this? He goes, this is my dad. He goes, man, you mafia? And he's like, oh, so this is where actually Kanan's his best, and it's like, it wasn't like I was watching Kanan. It felt like I was watching 50, because 50 completely comes out and starts really being himself. And this is the best Kanan I've seen in this whole conversation and dialect with Tommy, where they're discussing him being a mafioso and everything. He's like, look, man, we ain't never had a father. And he throws out jokes like, what you guys gonna do, play catch? Go to a ball game? But he really schooled him like, look, man, we ain't never had a dad, so what's the problem? So he listens to all these different people, and at the end of the episode, Tony gets out, and who's there to pick him up? Tommy's there to pick him up. And he gives him all the good stuff. He's like, look, man, take me to go see my girl, and then me and you gonna get in some trouble. And you can see the face on Tommy like he's excited. But either this is, I don't know. I mean, this is big. This is real big. Tommy's always been gangster, but Sicilian Italian is straight mafioso, and that's a different world. So this is gonna be interesting to see how this all works out and plays. All right. So let's finish it all off this episode with Tasha. So Tasha had a lot going on in this episode too. We first meet back up with Tasha after all the different events and seeing Angela and at the house. She's back at group counseling and she's by herself. Ghost did not go with her. And now she's re-listening to the story of this individual who had their son killed by a drunk driver, but he's like, we've actually had our prayers answered and this man is dead. And it didn't take away any of their pain. They still were angry at this man for what he did and how he took away their child's life, and I completely understand. And they were still hurt even though this man is no longer on this earth. So it just shows you no matter as much pain as Ghost was in, it didn't make a difference because that family was still hurting from their loss. So she confronts Ghost when she gets back to the house, and Ghost immediately admits to do what he did. She's like, I can't believe you. This is just nuts. What do you think this is going to do? And he's like, Ghost just wants to just kill everything because he wants to kill Ray 1,000 times over if he could for the death of his daughter. And because he has all this pent-up rage, he has no idea what he wants to do with it or how he's going to figure this out. And that is his biggest problem, and that's what's driving him crazy. So he went and did this other crime because he needed to let out some of his aggression, and just Tasha's not with any of what he's trying to do because it's just counterproductive. He then... she tells him, and then before that, she tells him, if you want to kill someone, kill Kanan, because that's the one who needs to be killed for everything she did to Tyreek. And that was a great line. Of course, that's foreshadowing, because she goes to go see Tommy, and when she's in the hallway, out of nowhere, Kanan shows up, and they get into a heated dispute about everything. I mean, you can just see the anger. She's completely mad at him, and he's just absorbing it all and trying to like reverse it back and trying to turn all that aggression to like sexual energy. He's trying to flip it on her and she don't give a dog, and he's even got his arm, and out of nowhere Tommy pops up. They let go. Tasha's pissed. Kanan's like, I didn't do nothing. He walks over, Tasha runs out, and Tommy chases after her and Tasha's like, look, man, you need to keep an eye on him and you need to watch after him. That's, Rainey's just basically be a part of the family and watch after him. And Tommy's like, all right, I got it. I'll make sure. So they have that whole thing. And then after that, Tasha goes and sees Keisha. They have a whole conversation about her and Tommy having a conversation and about the whole deal and how she was good, that she didn't sucker him in. She lied about having a guy coming over, the whole deal. But Tasha's like, look, you let him in the house, he know he's going to come back. And then Tasha starts spilling her guts about how she can't understand who Tariq is. She doesn't know who he is. And Keisha comes with the best advice. She's like, look, you've been lying to this boy your whole life. What do you expect? You've been lying to him. How does he know anything different? So this is the eye-opener that Tasha needed. So at the end of this, Tasha takes Tariq to his new school, and before they get out, she lets it all out. She tells him how they're from Queens. She tells him how they had to sell drugs on the street, how they had to do this and be a hustler and do these sort of things. But then she explains to him how your dad was a businessman because you couldn't live on the streets and how he wanted to convert all this stuff and take it, and that's why they don't ever talk about it. And what does this do? This helps Tariq to open up, and he admits that he saw everything, and he's completely sorry. And this is the first full moment that you get from Tariq this season where you fully feel the compassion and the sorrow in him that he allowed something to happen to his sister, and he's so sorry for it because this whole season he just seemed like a spoiled little brat who's gotten too much. So I really love this scene in this moment. I thought this was a great thing for Tariq to let it out, for Tasha to let it out, to have this great moment. I loved everything about this moment. I thought this was finally probably the best scene I've seen this season. Because, everything has been a lot of just jumbled wildness, and this was a true heartfelt scene that really felt truthful finally from the acting I was expecting from both of them. So, truly, truly like that. Woo! There you go, folks. Episode 3, are we on the same team? As you can tell from this one, no. Everyone is out for their own and try to do their own good. Alright, folks, I'd like to thank you for joining me this week. Please like, comment, subscribe down below. And until next week, guys, good night, Ted.